It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. This is your Tuesday morning. We're live, large and in charge on your Feel Good Breakfast show. Now, we're currently witnessing, or observing rather, National Obesity Week from the 15th to the 19th of October, and it's time for some scary stats. Listen to this. Half of adults in South Africa are classified as being overweight. 12% of men and 40% of women are classified as obese, and these stats are shocking, and they get even scarier and worse every single year. And that's why we've got Dr. Darren Green here with us to help us understand obesity, help us tackle it, and hopefully bring back the healthy nation that we want. Good to have you here. So how are you?
Thank you. Fantastic this morning. Thanks.
Excellent. So as I said, these stats, they're absolutely shocking. And is there some kind of explanation or a broad explanation as to why South Africans are getting fatter and fatter in an unhealthy sense, that is?
Yeah, I think there are multiple factors that come into play. Obviously, the cost of food is rising. It's got to do with socioeconomics. It's got to do with education on what type of foods we're consuming. And then it's also got to do with our activity levels as a nation. You know, we often hear sitting is the new smoking.
Yes.
So your lifestyle management as well as what you're eating, obviously, that balance and understanding of how that relationship with food works is also crucial.
Yeah, and of course, you at home can give us a call on 0214309881 if you find yourself struggling with obesity or you'd like to ask any questions relating to this topic. What I wanted us to just quickly clarify first, the word fat we throw around quite easily, and then there's this other word, obesity or obese. What is the difference between those medically?
Good. So we use different classifications. Some people use skin folds and percentage of body fat. You know, when you go to the gym and they use the calipers and they pinch your skin.
Yes.
Other people use the BMI, the body mass index, which involves your length, obviously, and your weight and the ratio between the two. And obesity basically implies a BMI above 25 and above 30 you're regarded as being obese.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the accepted norm all around.
Yeah. So that's just an indication. However, please remember the BMI doesn't take into consideration your build and your genetics for the specific activity or sport that you're doing. So you might be a Mighty Mouse short kind of dude with lots of compound short muscles, and you might weigh a lot more. Other people confuse being fat with big boned in terms of their genetic skeleton. So certainly size and centimeters and keeping consistent measurements is actually a lot more accurate than just using your weight.
Yeah. When we talk about the contributing factors towards obesity, how much does price play as a factor there when you consider the fact that in some rural areas healthy food is a lot more expensive, like 70% more expensive than unhealthy food, so the easiest choice to go for is always for the unhealthy stuff?
Correct. The easy thing that you can buy at the supermarket, whatever's available there, that's what people do and what they can afford. What people don't understand is that if there aren't resources where you live in the rural areas, what you need to do is grow your own food. And us in the city centres and the metropoles also can take a picture out of that book or a page out of that book and start considering that too. We are spoilt for choice, and the price of food certainly contributes towards the masses. If you have to feed an entire family on 800 Rand a month, you can imagine how challenging that gets. So we need to really take cognizance of the fact that some people aren't as privileged to have the option of actually spending 2,000 Rand on food for the month. So in our country, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, and this is a phenomenon and an epidemic that's affecting all of us as South Africans, as the statistics do reveal. So please give us a call on 021-430-9881 as we tackle obesity with Dr. Darren Green.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Well, we're back again with Dr. Darren Green, and our lines are open. You can give us a call on 021-430-9881. We're tackling obesity from the 15th to the 19th of October is National Obesity Week. And of course, the statistics are alarming for us as South Africans. Now, we don't want to be the enemy of nice things, but let's talk about the word, the carb, Dr. Darren Green, the carb. They say eliminating carbs is the one singular way of making sure that you lose weight. But let's first talk about the role that carbohydrates play in our bodies.
I think it's important for people to understand the different roles that food play in our lives, and obviously for me it's just to make people aware of the sources of energy. So the body needs energy to perform. The brain needs energy to perform. The muscles need energy. And the different sources of energy. Some people are of the mindset that carbs are the ultimate source of energy to fuel your muscles and your brain. And unfortunately for them, they're going to have to come to terms with new breakthroughs in science that have led us to a place now where we see that the body actually can utilize other sources of food like fats and proteins as well to provide energy to sustain life. And I think the mindset is that obviously, you know, the balance and the ratios of how much carbs, protein, and fat in your diet should be consumed. Those things have changed dramatically in terms of weight management, but also in terms of energy levels and the ability to perform the activities that you perform.
Yes, exactly.
So thank goodness for that, because now people know that carbs are a source of fuel, but there are alternatives with less side effects on your cardiovascular system, for example, and on your brain function. So one must understand the different pathways involved in breaking down the different foodstuffs. Some require oxygen, some don't, and the byproducts, obviously, of carbs comes all the way down to glucose being the source of energy. And we've become too accustomed to having too much glucose available circulating in the blood as the ultimate source of energy for our bodies.
And is it a case of always, is it when it gets too much, for instance, so when you take in more energy than you actually expend on a day, that carbs then contribute towards obesity? Is that the simple equation?
Yes, well, any food, even if you're consuming proteins and fats as well, if you're ingesting more calories than what you're burning, that equation of balance of energy in, energy out, if that's mismatched, you will pick up weight. But with carbs, obviously, the excess carbohydrates are stored, or glucose is stored as glycogen in the muscle and in the liver.
Okay, but why is it that we are so addicted to carbohydrates? We can't seem to get enough of them. Just looking at this picture,
That's a great question.
Thinking, this weekend I was having a beautiful potato
wholesome,
bake.
Welcoming.
Thanks, babe. It's beautiful.
It's often the food that's comfort food. It's associated certainly with a bit of emotional response. It's very interesting. They have done studies where they looked at the effect of the different food groups on mood, but also on the serotonin levels in the brain. And certainly carbohydrates are certainly the only food group that cause a surge and a raise in the serotonin levels. Interesting to note, however, that the lifestyle that you choose by changing the ratios of proteins and fats and so forth, combined with your lifestyle and energy, can also raise the serotonin levels. So it's a spin-off.
There we go.
But certainly it's regarded as a comfort food, makes you feel full quite quickly. And the problem is which type of carbs are you eating can spike the blood sugar level and let it then drop again, dumping you and feeling really, really low and weak.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're going to continue our chat very shortly. Our lines will remain open on 0214309881. When we come back, we're talking about a diet that's catching on in recent times all over the world, the ketogenic diet. What does it mean? Stay tuned.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It is a Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for starting the day off with us. We're back again with Dr. Darren Green on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. We're talking about obesity. From the 15th until the 19th of October is National Obesity Week, and some very, very important things that we need to discuss then. Of course, our lines are open, so give us a call on 0214309881. Dr. Green is going to talk to us about the ketogenic diet that seems to have gained a lot of popularity around the world. Firstly, let's talk about that. Exactly what is the ketogenic diet? What does it mean, and why has it become so popular?
Yeah, it's been around a long time. I think people are just becoming so much more involved and aware of it at the moment, and they're obviously seeing a lot of results in terms of weight loss. So as a point of information, I think people need to realize it's about using an alternate source of energy for your body besides carbs.
Okay.
It's about getting your body to use fat and protein as a source of energy. And that means either starving yourself or going onto a very, very low carb diet and predominantly having a protein intake as well as a fat intake. So your body basically has, for example, with the red blood cells and all the cells circulating in the blood, you've got glucose that's obviously involved as an energy source. That's the blood glucose level. And then you also have ketones or ketone bodies that are also circulating in a healthy person.
Okay.
So people are obviously misinformed, sometimes thinking that ketones are what diabetics get when they go into a diabetic ketoacidosis coma, for example. Ketones and keto are part of a regular, normal person's blood.
Yes.
And what actually happens when you train your body to have less circulating glucose, what happens in the liver is when you start eating less carbs and so forth, you have the liver converting glycogen, which is the stored form of glucose.
Okay.
To create more glucose circulating. And when that's exhausted, then it starts using the fats and it starts using the protein that's been stored as a source of energy. And acetyl-CoA is what's then produced in the liver. Now, that's all fine and sounds all scientific, but what that results is ketone bodies are the structures that circulate then in the bloodstream that act as a source of energy.
Yeah.
And what people didn't know before is they actually are a useful and valuable source of energy even to the brain. So the cells in the brain can utilize, obviously, ketone bodies as a source of energy and not just glucose, which was what we thought for so many years of the century. And that's obviously where the ketogenic diet comes in. So yeah, there are a few side effects when people make that transition of using stored glucose as glycogen all the way through to using, obviously, the stored fats and proteins and developing these ketone bodies. You go through some symptoms that are quite significant.
Wow, there's a lot to talk about and a lot to understand. And the first thing that's going off in my mind is that, is it even healthy then to train your body to be in the state of ketosis? But we'll talk about that in a second, as well as the reality of losing weight and how to actually do it effectively. In the meantime, please do give us a call on 0214309881.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
All right, we're back again with Dr. Darren Green, 0214309881. We're talking about a very interesting topic, weight loss, obesity. It is National Obesity Week. Let's talk about the negative side effects and the positive benefits of this ketogenic diet or other similar diets that encourage low-carb intake, high-protein, high-fat intake. Let's talk about that quickly.
So I think the big understanding is obviously using a different source of energy in your body where you were using carbs, and with that, obviously, the decision of which carbs are regarded as good carbs and which are bad carbs is also something that people need to be educated on, because you get refined carbohydrates with high glycemic indexes and so forth that you need to know about. You can see the sugars and so forth. Alcohol, for example, is also an example of a carb. So people need to understand that. But obviously, so the benefits of a ketogenic diet, obviously, you can imagine that sugar is addictive. It's like a drug. It's like cocaine. Once you start regulating the receptors, your body starts craving sugar and you get used to it. Your taste buds actually start getting used to a certain taste because you've developed that taste over time. You can no longer taste natural food that comes from the earth in its raw form. And that's what, so we use it to season and we use it to spice things up. So besides that, the benefits would be obviously weight management, also the alertness, mental alertness and energy that is documented and shown with people that do it correctly is quite remarkable. So you know, the evidence of things that are bad about it involve what's called the keto flu, which is where people have typically the transition of going from using stored glycogen and glucose as your fuel source to obviously the ketone bodies, gives you headaches, those withdrawal symptoms, tiredness, fatigue, and so forth. That happens typically after the first week. But then you start plateauing and normalizing and using the other source, and that's when things get better.
All right, we've got a call on the line. Jackie, all the way from Joburg. Good morning, Jackie.
Hi, good morning. Doc, I just want to know that I was very, very active up till 1.5 years ago. I am 67 years old. I used to have all my smoothies with my whey protein, with all my nuts and seeds, and all of a sudden I heard that I had a diverticulitis. And it totally took me back. There's a thickening of the colon. And I was told that some proteins also are responsible for the thickening. So it's got me really, really confused. I don't know what is the right thing.
Thank you so much for that insightful question, Jackie. I'm even trying to remember the word that you used.
Diverticulitis.
Diverticulitis,
Yes.
okay.
So you get in medicine you get two different conditions. You get diverticulosis and you get diverticulitis.
Okay.
Diverticulitis implies obviously an inflammatory condition of the bowel and the colon as well. So she's asking about the relationship between proteins and specific diets on diverticulitis.
Yes.
She's typically in the risk factor profile, which is as you get to your 60s and 70s. That's the typical age at which you develop that anyway. And certainly in certain people, there is a sensitivity to certain foodstuffs that can trigger the disease. Often you can find it in families and also obviously what other comorbid conditions they have. So certainly something that is diagnosed normally with a blood test and even a scope, what they call a colonoscopy and so forth, where they take a camera and go and look at the lining of the bowel and see the inflamed pockets, etc., with blisters.
Yes. So you certainly need to have a medical professional have a
No,
look at
for
that.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And the treatment of it involves amending your diet, certainly,
Yeah.
and obviously rigorous follow-up as a predisposer to other more serious conditions.
All right, Dr. Green, thank you so much. Always appreciate your insights and expertise. We'll do it again next week. Can we follow you on Instagram at Dr. Darren Green and ask you questions and
100%.
stuff on Twitter?
We will try and make time for that.
Thank
yeah.
you, sir. Have a wonderful week to you, sir, and we'll be back after a break.